So we've had quite a bit of news today. Of course, we had a press conference for Artur Beterbiev versus Dimitri Bivol. We already knew that fight was happening. Obviously, it's a great fight, but nothing new there. However, we did get the reveal of the fighters who will be taking part in the Queensbury versus Matchroom 5v5. And although some of these fights are very good, brilliant fights actually, I can't help but feel a little bit deflated just because so many of them were basically leaked in the run-up to this event. And so we got the fights that we thought we were going to get. We got Zhang versus Deontay Wilder, Daniel Dubois versus Hrgovic, Nick Ball versus Ray Ford, Hamza Shiraz versus Austin Williams, and Willie Hutchinson versus Craig Richards. As I say, some brilliant fights, a couple of good fights, and a solid fight. Zhang versus Deontay Wilder and Daniel Dubois versus Hrgovic. Those are the ones, other than the main event, of course, that I'm really looking forward to. You've got big punching heavyweights who are going to be slinging some heavy leather. I just hope that with the Zhang and Wilder fights, both of them actually turn up to throw some punches, because when they do, devastating effects. So I think that one's going to be a shootout while it lasts. I can't see this one going a distance unless one of them, probably Wilder, is super negative. But we're going to have to see what happens with that one. And don't get me wrong, all of these fights, they warrant, I'd say the 4 fights on this undercard, they warrant their own videos because they're pretty good fights. Willie Hutchinson versus Craig Richards. I don't really care for that one too much. That's going to be like the first fight on the card that you half watch while you're having a chat with whoever you're watching it with. The rest of them, I think they are really good, entertaining fights. And so obviously closer to the time I'll do videos giving my thoughts in depth, because I've got to be honest, I'm going to have a good think about some of these because they are very close fights. Like Zhang versus Wilder, I can easily see both guys winning. I'd say I'll probably favour Zhang just as an early impression. I think he's just got a little bit more in the tank. Deontay Wilder, I think he's got one foot out the door by this point. And he can still be dangerous. But I'm just wondering where Deontay Wilder's head is, where his heart is. Does he still have the desire to do this? And Zhang, I think with him it's more of an issue of the condition that he comes in. You know, he's going to have to come in and be at a weight, because his stamina is pretty shocking at the best of times. And I think the fact that he came in really heavy against Joseph Parker doesn't help. So he's going to have to scale that back, pardon the pun, and come in a better fighting shape, because you cannot afford to sit like a duck in front of Deontay Wilder, because he will knock your head off. However, Zhang is a very, very competent, very sharp counter-puncher, and technically, he's so technically superior to Deontay Wilder, it's not even close, let's be real. So both guys can realistically win this fight and win it big, in my opinion. Daniel Dubois versus Hrgovic, very interesting fight because there's quite a pronounced psychological dynamic at play. Daniel Dubois is riding the crest of a wave right now. Obviously, it's all relative. You know, he's got a new girlfriend. He's probably just been laid for the first time. He's coming off a good win against Jarrell Miller, so he's got some pep in his step. And conversely, Hrgovic has looked quite flat in his most recent performances. However, Hrgovic is... it's basically public knowledge now that he probably ironed Dubois out in sparring years ago. And so he's going to probably imagine that he can do the same again now. So it's going to be up to Dubois to stand up to that and see if he can kind of right that wrong, if that's the right term to use, and stick it on Hrgovic. But Hrgovic is a very confident character anyway, and he's very tough. I think retrospectively we can look at his performance against Zhang and some of the punches he took, and we can think, I think it's fair to say Hrgovic is really solid in the punch resistance department. And I know he got knocked down officially by Zhang, but that wasn't a proper knockdown. That was some BS. But yeah, Hrgovic, his head has to be in it. Otherwise, he could maybe get outworked by Dubois, who is, big, a little bit stiff, but he's very strong and he does have a decent work rate. So I will be favouring Hrgovic, but it wouldn't shock me if Dubois won. Then we get to Nick Ball and Ray Ford and Hamza Shiraz versus Austin Williams. I bunched these fights together because I'm quite familiar with Nick Ball, the same way I'm quite familiar with Hamza Shiraz, both fighters who I quite like. Hamza Shiraz, only recently have I really started paying attention. Before, in years gone by, I've never been that impressed by him. And when he was being compared to like Tommy Hearns, I was just thinking, that's an insult. But he's come into his own. He's really stringing together some decent performances with some statement wins in the fashion he's dealt with opponents. Nick Ball, super entertaining fighter. Excuse me, like a little pit bull, just gets stuck in. But Ray Ford and Austin Williams, starting with Ray Ford, I think I've watched him a couple times and I was always impressed with his athleticism. Tremendous balance, very well scored, very sharp. I'm going to have to watch a little bit more of him before I formulate a prediction. Austin Williams, same kind of deal, although I've seen him in the past and I was never too impressed. Not that he was rubbish, he seems to be a solid, competent fighter, but I just didn't see anything special in him. But truth be told, I haven't focused too closely on their careers. Willie Hutchison versus Craig Richards. I don't really care much for this one, as I say. It's not terrible, but I'm not going to be fully focused on this one. I'll probably still do a prediction video for it come fight week, but I can't say I'm chomping at the bit to watch this one. So, just some initial thoughts on this. Of course, the main event as well, Artur Beterbiev versus Dimitri Bivol. I think that one requires a lot of homework. I don't know about you guys, but I'm finding it damn near impossible to split these two. Both of them are champions. Both of them just fantastic operators. They address their fights differently, but they both get big results. I know the entertainment factor is more so with Artur Beterbiev, but you can't deny Dimitri Bivol has made a lot of his fights look easy against opponents who are no slouches. They're good, solid, world-level operators, and he's made them look very basic. So that one, already for months, I've been going back and forth, and I'm having a real tough time splitting these two. So still got, I think, about 6 weeks to formulate a prediction and do some homework. I think about that. June 1st. So, gonna have to do some homework, see what we can find. But let me know what you guys think about these matchups. Are you like me, kind of disappointed that they were so obvious? Is this in the lead up to all of this? Basically, all these fights have been spoken about. So come announcement day, you're kind of like, oh yeah, I knew that one was coming. I knew that one was coming. I don't want to sound like a downer because these are great fights, but secrecy in boxing isn't, it's not boxing's strong point. I'll say that. But anyway, leave your thoughts in the comment section below and I'll catch you in the next video.